Starting off this countdown, we have the World Cup. During the 1962 FIFA World Cup, somebody captured a photo of the Brazilian team celebrating as they lift their trophy. But the photo captured more than just that. Towards the bottom of the photo, there's a man who appears to be taking a picture using a flip-style cell phone. Obviously, flip phones weren't a thing back then, so this has led people to believe that this guy is a time traveler, and obviously a fan of soccer. As a soccer player, I respect that. Now, it's quite weird that this time traveler would have a flip phone with them. Like, out of all devices, they chose to bring a flip phone back in time with them. On the other hand, people believe that the phone is actually just a film camera held at a weird angle, but who knows? In our 9th spot, we have Nicolas Cage. Okay, some of you may know this, I know the true fans will, but I love Nicolas Cage. National Treasures, great movie, don't come at me. Well, Nicolas Cage is theorized to be a time traveler. That's right. He's the face of a meme, an actor, America's national treasure, and even a time traveler. What a great thing to be able to write on your resume. There's a photo of a man from the 19th century that looks pretty identical to this Academy Award winning actor. The photo was taken in 1870 and features a Tennessee man dressed in a snazzy outfit. The photo was found in the back of an album of death portraits. And this photo could be yours for $1 million. Seriously, that's how much it's listed for. But anyways, this photo might just prove that Nick Cage is a time traveler. In our 8th spot, we have the brass bell. In 1944, a 10-year-old boy by the name of Newton Anderson was shoveling coal into his furnace at his home when a piece of coal was dropped and broke in half. Inside the coal revealed a mysterious bell. Keep in mind that the coal was found to be 300 million years old. Back then, the dominant life form on Earth were insects. Not only that, but studies on the bell revealed that it was handmade. So it's physically impossible for a bell like that to have been manufactured back then. So this has led people to believe that a time traveler went back in time to that time period and dropped their bell while doing so. But who the heck carries a bell with them when they're going back in time? Like, that's not something that would be in my suitcase. Now, of course, people were skeptical. They thought that the boy lied and didn't find the bell in the coal. But he underwent a polygraph test conducted by a specialist who worked on death row cases. It was discovered that he was indeed telling the truth. So now the question is, who was the time traveler that dropped this on their mission? And what is the significance behind the bell? Moving on to number 7, we have the toothed wheel. A Russian man was using coal to heat his home when he realized something odd sticking out of it. Researchers stated that it looked like a toothed wheel. Testing of this object revealed that it was 98% aluminum and 2% magnesium. What's weird is humans didn't learn to make aluminum until 1825. But this coal piece is 300 million years old. And the tooth object appears to be artificially made. Again, how did a man-made object find its way in a 300 million year old piece of coal? Not only that, but the object resembles parts that are used in things like microscopes or electronic devices. Or maybe time machines. It could be that a time traveler went back to that time period and then a piece broke off of his time traveling device or something. In our 6th spot, we have the skater boy. Skateboarding was an activity that became increasingly popular during the mid-70s. But here's the thing. There's a photo of a well-dressed man boarding through New York's Central Park. The photo was taken back in the 1960s, when very few people were out skateboarding. In fact, it was very rare to see people skateboarding before the 70s because it was not a popular activity at all. And even when it did become popular, it took years before it was embraced as a real sport. So then, who is this man in a suit that is riding a board? He looks super out of place. This has led people to believe that he is a time traveler from the future that clearly likes skateboarding as his method of transportation. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with John Titor. John Titor is a supposed time traveler from the year 2036 on a military mission. He first made his appearance on the internet in the 2000s on online forums. He would post about predictions or share stories from the future. The reason for him traveling back in time is so that he can get an IBM 5100, which apparently had a secret function that could translate anything to any language. I have no clue why he needed it, but he did. On the forums, John also posted grainy photos of the time machine and of the military logo from the future. In 2001, John disappeared from online and was never heard from again. So some people believe that he is a real time traveler. Maybe he made it back home, or maybe something else happened to him. In our fourth spot, we have Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci was a painter, sculptor, inventor, engineer, and architect during the Renaissance. However, he's probably most famous for his painting, the Mona Lisa. Well, believe it or not, but da Vinci is thought to be a time traveler. Hear me out, okay? Leonardo da Vinci was often considered way ahead of his time. Well, maybe this is quite literally, since he's thought to have come from the future. One theory is that he went back in time to steal others' accomplishments or to help advance the world. This dude was a genius. He knew more things than anyone else did in that time period. For example, da Vinci drew pictures of a helicopter in 1493. That's around 450 years before an actual helicopter was created. But not only that, he had the idea for an armored fighting vehicle, aka tanks. And he also invented the idea of a submarine. He talked about ships that could travel underwater and even sketched designs of them. So da Vinci somehow came up with all of these modern day inventions and more. How? Because he's a time traveler. Making our way down the list at number 3, we have the self-proclaimed traveler. Over the years, a number of people have come forward claiming that they are time travelers from the future, which is the case for this next man. A couple of years ago, an older Greek man came forward saying that he traveled in time to the year 3207. Of course, during his interview, he had his identity hidden for safety reasons. His face was blurred out and his voice was distorted. Now, he claims that he was shot forward in time and spent 2 days in the year 3207 as part of a top secret military program. He claims that in the future the buildings were massive, triple the size that they are today. He also says that there were flying cars and that there was strange colored grass. It wasn't green, but he said it was a deep purple. And lastly, he says that aliens, humans, big animals, and robots all were walking together down the street. And that seems like a pretty crazy future. And why is the grass purple? Like, what kind of environmental mutation happened there? I don't even want to know. Coming in at number 2, we have Paul Deinecke. In 1921, a man named Paul Deinecke, a Swiss-Australian teacher, slipped into a coma for about a year. For that year, he claimed that he went to the year 3096, where he switched consciousness with a man named Andrew Northman. 1 minute, he was in a coma. Next, he's inside Andrew's body speaking a foreign language. For that year, he was living as Andrew. Friends of Andrew even noticed his personality changed. Paul was so scared to tell anyone of his experience, so he wrote it in his diary and kept it a secret. However, just before he passed away, he gave his diary to one of his students to translate. And that's when it was revealed that he had somehow time traveled to the future. And in our number 1 spot, we have Donald Trump. This has to be one of the creepiest theories out there. So, theory goes that Donald Trump and his son Barron Trump are both time travelers from the future. Theory goes that Trump traveled back in time to become the ruler of America. Now, here's the thing. These theories arise after someone discovered 2 books on the Office of Congress Library website. The books are called Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey and 1900 or The Last President. Both were written in the 1890s by Ingersoll Lockwood. The book Barron Trump is about a young boy who finds a secret portal and time travels. Both books have eerie connections to Donald Trump and his family. First off, the book is called Barron Trump, and Barron Trump is the name of Donald Trump's son. There are way more freaky coincidences though, like how at one point in the book he was guided by a man named Don, aka Donald Trump. And then in the book, The Last President, it's about an unlikely presidential candidate that won the election. Sound familiar? Even freakier, the book talks about the Fifth Avenue Hotel, and the address of the hotel in the book is the exact address where Trump's tower currently stands. Hold on, it gets creepier. In the book, there is a character named Laugh Pence, who is the Secretary of Agriculture. Come on, like hello, the Vice President's name is Mike Pence. There's just too many similarities between the books and Donald Trump's life, so people believe that this book was actually written about Trump and his family.
Number 10. Sir Victor Goddard. This story really freaks me out. Sir Victor Goddard was a wing commander in 1935 and he was making a trip over to an airbase in Drem, Scotland. Little did he know that this routine trip would change his life forever. As he was flying over the base, he took in the rough condition it was in. The fields were unkept with grass cracking through the tarmac and cattle had begun invading to graze. Then suddenly the weather took a miserable turn and in order to prevent an accident he decided to make for a landing at the base. But as he got closer and closer to landing, the rain began to let up and the sun broke through the clouds. Suddenly he saw a flurry of mechanics in clean and tidy blue uniforms working diligently on yellow planes. Usually the mechanics at the time formerly wore khaki uniforms, so the blue was a bit of a shock. Additionally, they were working on yellow planes instead of silver. Goddard left shaking his head to remove whatever fever dream he was having, only to revisit the exact moment when he visited the site again 4 years later. He saw the exact same thing, blue uniforms, yellow planes, and had to deal with quite a fierce bit of deja vu. Ever since this story came to light, it's not hard to believe he traveled into the future. Or back in time. Number 9. Greta Thunberg's doppelganger. What doesn't this girl do? First, she takes on the world's global environmental issues, gaining recognition on like every media outlet, and now she may be a time traveler. Social media blew up with the time travel theories when a 19th century photo surfaced that features Greta, or at least someone who looks just like her. It's true, the resemblance is astounding, so is this a case of time traveling, adventures, or just a common gene pool? Well, firstly, the situation of the photo doesn't actually suit Thunberg's environmental initiatives. The photo was taken in 1898, and the 3 children featured in it are sifting for gold, like Greta would ever be seen next to a mine. According to the University of Washington Libraries, the photo was also taken in the Canadian Yukon Territory. Far from Greta. Greta hasn't responded to the fanatics obsessed with the photo, and her silence only feeds the theories. Who knows? Maybe she just has one of those faces, or maybe she was sent back to do more of her research. After all, Greta does seem to prove time and time again that she isn't your average teen. Number 8. A mummy loves some Adidas. Discovering a mummy is a pretty big deal in itself, but discovering one with some pretty sweet kicks? One of the most unique and oldest pairs of shoes were discovered when a Mongolian mummy was unearthed. Her body was found in the Altai Mountains in Mongolia, and on her feet were a peculiar pair of shoes. They looked like trendy Adidas shoes. Now they aren't actually Adidas, but they do feature the signature striped style of the shoe. After the restoration, it was revealed that they were actually a pair of knee-high boots with a striped black and red pattern. They also featured decorated buckles and leather soles. Our ancient fashionista also carried with her a clutch bag, mirror, comb, a knife, and a saddle with the remains of a horse. So lots to do. Researchers estimate that she died due to a blow to the head. Interesting. I know, this may have taken the wind out of your sails, but considering they appear so similar to today's designs, could it be that she might have gotten her inspiration from a distant traveler? A traveler who sported remarkable striped leather shoes and inspired the 1,000-year-old seamstress? Number 7. The Philadelphia Survivor. The Philadelphia experiment is perhaps one of the most famous urban legends / conspiracy theories / actual historical event. For context, the Philadelphia experiment is an alleged military experiment that was carried out by the US Navy. In 1943, the USS Eldridge allegedly was made invisible and teleported from Pennsylvania to Virginia, either through time or parallel universe. What's the difference really? The story actually originated in 1955 when ex-merchant marine Carl M. Allen claimed to witness the event. He sent a book full of handwritten annotations to prove it, though it might be a hoax. Who knows? Did this actually happen? Who knows? But the movie definitely did, and it did nothing to help the conspiracy theories circling the world. But a man named Alfred Bielek found the film incredibly life-changing, as while watching it, he realized who he actually was, the lone survivor of the experiment. After seeing the 1988 film, Bielek's memories came flooding back, and he was actually Ed Cameron, and he had been born in 1916. So if this was real, it ticks all the boxes. Parallel universes, time travel, aliens, Philadelphia, science. Number 6. The Missing Hotel. This one gives me like Howl's Moving Castle vibes. Could be because I watched it recently for like the 12th time, so I don't know. But a building that's there 1 minute and then gone the next? I don't know. A couple traveling Europe had a unique experience, one they will never forget despite history seeming to. This story was featured on a TV series called Strange But True. Two couples headed off to Spain in the 1970s to live their best lives, but time travel wasn't on the itinerary. They were on their way from England, passing through France, when they decided to stop and search for accommodations. Everywhere in Montelimar was packed save one place that was simply labeled hotel. They got a room that was tremendously old-fashioned with no glass in the windows and no phone. But it was the breakfast the next morning that shocked them. The other guests were dressed in like outdated clothing, and their breakfast only came out to 19 francs, which was way lower than what they thought. Hey, that's a win. They took tons of pictures of the vintage hotel and planned on returning next time they were in Europe. But the hotel disappeared. When they looked for the hotel again, it was no longer there, and no locals knew what the heck they were talking about. Even eerier, their photographs did not develop, like it had all been a glitch. Number 5, the bridge opening. Next up, we have this picture. See if you can spot the one who is out of place. Found him? In case you missed it, we are talking about the gent dressed in the all too familiar type of hipster style. He sticks out like a sore thumb with his thick black glasses, graphic t-shirt, and what looks to be some kind of hooded cardigan. This photo blew up across time travel enthusiast forums, he's the ultimate hipster. The location of the photo was at the reopening of the Southport Bridge in Goldbridge, British Columbia in 1941. He also looks to be the youngest guy in the photo. Strange considering he would have been enlisted in the Canadian Army at that point. Correct me if I'm wrong. So why is such a young circa 2010 sporting gent standing at the Southport Bridge? Could it be he was sent back to document the event and was accidentally documented himself? Number 4, Andrew Carlson. This next one is for all my Game Stoppers out there who love that Robin Hood story. I did too. I really did. It sounds like Andrew Carlson pulled a Biff from Back to the Future though. Police arrested the 44-year-old in 2003 when he was somehow able to turn $800 into $350 million over 2 weeks. That's the damn dream, man. Authorities believe that he must have had insider help, which according to Andrew wasn't exactly untrue. Andrew told the court that he was actually a time traveler from the year 2256, and that is how he knew. Obviously, who the heck would believe that ridiculous excuse? But wait, it gets weirder. Andrew disappeared without a trace. A month later, a mysterious benefactor paid $1 million buyout to get him out. On April 2nd, Andrew was supposed to meet with his lawyer, but he had entirely disappeared without a trace. No evidence of his existence could be found before the year 2002. Andrew, can you come back and just tell me how you did that? That'd be great, you know? Anyways, number 3, put your phone away. When I go to my next concert, there is one thing I really hope I don't see. People watching the whole thing through their phones while they're at a live concert. It just bothers me so much. Maybe do it once to commemorate it, but not the entire time, dude, you know? Someone should have said that to this time traveler in the background of Mike Tyson's 1994 match with Peter McNeely. Check this out. Yup, right in the background is a smartphone. Obviously, right? I still remember my mom having a tiny screen dial phone well into 2001. There was no way what looks to be a Galaxy phone would be around back then. Debunk this photo if you want, but if that is indeed a time traveler who was sent back, dude, time and place. Number 2, the Nazca astronaut. Out of all the items on this list, this is the largest example of time travel in history by sheer size. The Nazca lines are located 250 miles south of Lima, Peru, and feature over 70 massive depictions of animals that can only be seen from the sky. But the one we are talking about is definitely either a sign for aliens or time travel. Among the 70 images, there's a strange humanoid figure that looks remarkably similar to an astronaut. Some of the designs from the geoglyphs measure around 30 miles, and experts have no idea how or why these drawings were created with such precision. The astronaut is the strangest of them all. It kind of looks like not only an astronaut, but it looks like it's waving, you know? Weird. Was this an homage to a strange spaceman who came traveling and visited the people of Peru? I personally wouldn't be surprised. And last but not least, Edgar Allan Poe. This last and final one, I have to thank Olivia for helping me dive down this rabbit hole because it really is convincing. I'm fully on board. So is she. So here we go. Edgar Allan Poe has to have been a time traveler, or maybe he still is. Either way, he must have had some sixth sense. Okay, so first off, he predicted the future. 46 years after Edgar published his first novel called The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket in 1838, something weird happened. At one point in the book, their ship, Grampus, became stranded without food or water after a mutiny and must resort to desperate measures. The crew draws straws to see who would be sacrificed for sustenance. A boy named Richard Parker lost the deal. 46 years later, in 1884, the exact thing happens with the exception that the boat was a sinking yacht. 4 men were set adrift and forced to do the same thing, and guess the name of the boy who died! Richard Parker. Example 1. Example 2, 1840, Poe penned the story called The Businessman Who Endures a Violent Life After a Head Injury. He was hit in the head as a young kid, causing an injury to his frontal lobe, which Poe seemed to entirely understand in intricate detail. But the first time behavioral changes caused by this kind of injury were able to be studied didn't come until 1848. An actual neurologist, Eric Altshuler, wrote, and I quote, "There's dozens of symptoms and he knows every single one. There's everything in that story, we've hardly learned anything more. It's so exact that it's just weird, and it's like he had a time machine." Unquote. Point 3. Who is the figure who visits Poe's grave every year and puts a rose on it? Perhaps Poe is coming back to honor a past life. After all, why is a raven like a writing desk? Because Poe wrote on both.
Coming into number 10, we have W Man. What does the W stand for? William? Wallace? Women? Oaxaca? Oh, only our British audience will get this, but I really miss Oaxaca. Get me some sweet potato tacos immediately! Tacos probably weren't a thing in 1940s Canada when this picture was taken, although I bet Mr. W has eaten a few, because look at him, he's a blatant time traveler hipster. A lot of people dub this guy the time traveling hipster, and he does certainly look like he would be better placed working in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, or Ubisoft. The picture was taken at the opening of South Fork Bridge, but it got the world's attention in 2010 at a photo exhibit. The guy is wearing sunnies and looks like he is holding a far more modern DSLR camera. Sadly, it does turn out that the letter on his shirt is actually an M for the Montreal Maroons, who played in the NHL from 1924 to 1938. So that being said, he could just be trying to blend in. Although to be honest with you, the rest of him's pretty standout. What do you guys think? Is he a time traveler? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Coming into number 9, we have Charlie Chaplin's time traveling extra. Take a look at this footage from Charlie Chaplin's 1928 movie Circus. If this footage was from the modern day, the first thing you would notice is that it's in black and white. You wouldn't pay any attention to the woman who is clearly on her mobile phone in the background walking behind a zebra. But this is 1928 and cell phones won't be readily available for another 70 so years. Even the early cell phones of the 1980s were chunky. This woman is clearly time traveling from the future, and judging by the size of her phone, I would say from the next millennium. This time traveler is caught on camera all the time. We have Nicolas Cage at number 8. Fun fact, Nicolas Cage has the same birthday as me. Second fun fact, did you know that the Academy Award and Golden Globe Award winning actor Nicolas Cage is indeed a time traveler? No? Well, he is. The actor uses a personally developed style of performance that he calls nouveau shamanic, which, I mean, sure. Maybe it's something that he's developed across the ages, as it seems that the film legend is indeed a time traveler. He's also fulfilled a lot of roles in history. Here he is as Mexican Emperor Maximilian I of Habsburgo, and here he is as an unidentified man from Bristol, Tennessee in 1870. The actor was forced to publicly deny it on Letterman. Spotted at the beach at number 7. So this picture here is a lovely snap of British war workers escaping the perils of their job for one much needed sunny day in 1943. The image was shared on Twitter, and the poster was asking people to identify where the beach was. It turns out that the beach in question was Towan Beach in Cornwall, but more than the stretch of sand was identified here. It seemed that eagle-eyed viewers spotted a man on a smartphone in the middle of the picture. He could just be looking at something in his hand, but doesn't it look like he's on his phone? Honestly, to me it seems like he is so checking his phone. To me, it looks like he's just received a really confusing text from Bay and he's not sure how to respond. So phones feature heavily on this list, so do prepare yourself for more and even more shocking examples. But before we get to that, let me pose to you that Michael Jackson isn't actually dead, he's time traveling. Find out why I've drawn this conclusion at number 6. YouTube account Fact5 compiled a number of pictures that have shown the King of Pop popping up through history. So weird that this was never spotted until he died. It's like he's out there somewhere changing the future. Here's a painting of Michael from like, let's say the late 1700s, and then there's this Egyptian statue of him. Right. Roll up for another iPhone. This one comes 60 to 70-ish years ahead of schedule. We have Henry Fonda's touchscreen at number 5. This clip is from the 1948 John Wayne movie Fort Apache, and there is a scene in which the character Lieutenant Colonel Owen Thursday, played by Henry Fonda, whips out his iPhone and goes over a list of names with his daughter Philadelphia, played by Shirley Temple. Check it out and tell me what you think. To me, he's holding that just like a slim iPhone X, although I feel like this is probably just a notebook. But it looks a lot like an iPhone. I don't know. What do you think? Coming into number 4, we have a time-traveling car. This time-traveling car has totally vexed the internet time and time again. This footage was allegedly caught on a Russian police officer's dash cam and features what can only be described as a time-traveling car. Is that the DeLorean? The footage starts as the car is turning left. We can see the traffic at a standstill, and then on the right, all of a sudden a car comes from nowhere. Like, seriously, nowhere. It's definitely the Doctor and Marty McFly. Honestly, let me slow this down for you and you can watch again because this is so crazy. Like, where did it come from? Time traveling! Uploaded by Rose Adams on YouTube, this video has been watched over 1 million times, and by the looks of the comments, a lot of people are just as confused as me. Okay, the teleporting or time traveling car did have me pretty convinced, although I am less sure about this one. At number 3, we have a time traveling hero. So this video was uploaded in September 2012 and has been watched a staggering 11 million times. In it, we see a super fast time traveling superhero come out of nowhere and rescue a guy on a motorbike who looks like he was about to be killed by an oncoming truck. Time traveler, teleporter, basically the same thing, right? Well, it turns out that actually this is a hoax, a viral marketing campaign for a Chinese game called Dragon Totem Girl. Wow. Okay, that may have been a hoax, but this seems very legit. We have this chatty factory worker at number 2. Watch out, here come the girls. This footage was shot in 1938 and is thought to be of factory workers leaving for the day. There they all are in their 1930s looking clothing, behaving as I would expect, until this lady comes along. Now to me, she very much looks like she's holding an early 2000s flip phone. I remember those. So good. Something really satisfactory about flipping a phone. Seriously though, look at her. What else could she be doing? She seems to be engaging with the phone as if she's talking to someone, and she's smiling but not at the woman next to her. According to a video that Danny made earlier about time travelers, in 2013 a woman came forward in the comments section of the video to say that she was the great-granddaughter of this woman. She says her name was Gertrude. She said that Gertrude was actually part of a science and tech experiment to test a wireless phone, although, like, really, there isn't that much scientific evidence to back that up at all. And since then, the comments section has been axed. What does this mean? Finally, coming into number 1, we have something strange happening in the background of a 1995 Mike Tyson fight. Whoa, 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 absolute smartphone alert. So this was a fight between Tyson and Peter McNeely that went down in Vegas in 1995. Yes, there were mobile phones in 95, but not smartphones. Smartphones only entered the market in and around 2007. Before that, phone cameras were total garbage. This clearly looks like a white Android phone from after 2014 with at least a 12 megapixel camera. We could only dream of 12 megapixels in the 90s. This footage is legit, and knowing our generation who can't be separated from their phones, if they were to time travel back to see a Mike Tyson fight, many people would be tempted to whip out their phones even if their time traveling was supposed to be a secret. Well, honestly, we caught you, mate.